I wanted to just start by saying thank you to the Katzes for hosting the first share.
Yay.
And yay, Katzes. And if anybody took a look at the Marmakomos, that's great. It'll give a good head start on what we're going to look at. And I want to thank you guys for coming and sacrificing from your time, because I know everybody here is a professional and everybody here has a mishpacha. And on some level, it's key you're bringing a mini carbon by being here and giving of your time to be able to have specific limud Torah, especially this, which is going to be limud Torah be'in, a little bit more than what we have in other experiences and other shirim in Portland. So it's nice that we'll be able to have such a thing. I wanted to speak for a moment just about the mahalach halimud we're going to have and what we're going to start with learning. So what we're going to be doing, we're not going to be, some of the suggestions were to go through a Masechta, something like that. We're going to be doing in Yanim. We're actually going to start. It's going to be more or less Keseder HaShulchan Aruch, but we're not going to be just learning through the Shulchan Aruch and just learning through the Torah, Beis Yosef, Shulchan Aruch, Shach, and Taz. That's not the way we're going to do it. We're going to build an entire sugya so that we have the entire thing. We're going to look at the Psukim, the Mefarshei Mikra. We're going to look at the Monei Mitzvos, the Mefarshim that count out all the mitzvos, like the Sefer HaChinuch and the Sefer HaMitzvos LaRambam. So we're going to go through that. We're going to go through Gemaras. We're going to go through Rishonim. We're going to go through the Torah Shulchan Aruch, and we're going to go through some Achronim too, and talk about a lot of practical examples that come up in the modern day. And the halachos that we're going to be working through, there will be a lot of practical nafkaminos. So there was a part of Yoreh De'ah that I was particularly fond of back in yeshiva. I even wrote a kuntras on one of the simanim back here. It starts at Kuf Ayin Ches, which is right after Ribbis. Right after Ribbis ends, the halachos of interest, you have an interesting section of a lot of obscure halachos about different customs, many of them customs of the Goyim. You have Chukos Akum, the ways of the Goyim. You have Ma'onin and Mechashev. You have witchcraft. You have Ksuvas Kaka. You have tattoos. You have Giluach, shaving, which is the one that I actually wrote a kuntras on. You have Lo Yilbash Gever, that's Beged Isha, that's not wearing clothing of the opposite gender. And that's all you have before you get into Nida. So we can actually spend some time. This is Ki'ilu, its own little mini section of Shulchan Aruch. We can spend time and master these halachos really well. Many of them are very practical for the here and now. One thing to note initially, Chukos Akum, at least according to the way the Shulchan Aruch lays it out, and this is something we're going to have to take a look at, is not with Avodas Kochavim. It's not with Avodah Zarah, idol worship. It's in its own little section between Ribbis and Nida, the other practices of the Goyim, but it's not along with Avodas Kochavim. We're going to see a lot of different Mefarshim tackle it from different angles. Some are going to try to connect it to Avodah Zarah. Some are going to try to connect it to things like we just spoke about, shaving and Lo Yilbash. Some are going to try to connect it to superstitions and nichush and snake charmers and omens and mystical signs, things like that. So there are going to be people, different Mefarshim, trying to tie it to different inyanim. We'll have to see how it comes out lahalacha. But there'll be a lot of different halachos that it'll touch on or be connected to on some level. Let's start off with the first psukim we're going to look at. This is in Parshas Achremos, in Vayikra Yud Ches. You've got it there. It's okay. Everybody has it. We'll start with pasuk Gimel. K'ma'asei Eretz Mitzrayim asher yashaftim ba lo sasu. So like the actions of the land of Egypt that you dwelled in, don't do. Part A. U'k'ma'asei Eretz Canaan asher ani mevi eschem shama lo sasu. Like the actions of the land of Canaan that I'm bringing you to, lo sasu. Don't do those either. U'v'chuko sehem, and in their customs or ways, lo selechu. You should not go. We're going to tackle this pasuk piece by piece and explain what the pasuk's dealing with. So starting off, K'ma'asei Eretz Mitzrayim, like the actions of Egypt, particularly the actions that are singled out by many Mefarshim are znus, are arayas, that they were a particularly promiscuous bunch. And that was a part of the culture in Egypt all the way back to Avraham Avinu. We know Avram Avinu went down to Egypt. He hid Sarah in a box because he knew the ways of Mitzrayim. He knew that they were a very promiscuous bunch, and she did get snatched up and brought to Paro. Paro was stricken with a plague, and then he gave her back to Avram. But when he sent them on their way, it wasn't like Avimelech. Avimelech Melech Gror said, Hinei artzi lefanecha, my land's in front of you, stick around, have a good time. Paro said, you should really leave. And Rashi says there, why did Paro say you should really leave? Because the people around here are, they're not your type of people. They're very into Arias, they're very promiscuous. The lashon of Rashi is shtufei zima haim, that they are sunken into immoral practices. That's who Mitzrayim was. They're a very, very znussi bunch. And the Rashi continues, zirmas susehem zirmasam, that their flow is the flow of horses. They're having relations with whoever they can get their hands on. They were not a very modest nation. So that was part of Mitzrayim. We also know that Mitzrayim was also full of avodah zarah. They had several avodah zarahs. You had the Nile, you had Paro himself, you had sheep, you had all sorts of avodah zarah there, and also kishuf, witchcraft. We know when Moshe Rabbeinu threw down the staff, Paro was ki'ilu laughing at him. He's like, really? You're going to come bring witchcraft here into Mitzrayim and try to impress me? You're bringing something that everybody has into Mitzrayim. You're not doing anything special here.
Is there some commentary as to why it's the land of Mitzrayim and not the people of Mitzrayim?
Good question. It seems the way that because the pasuk does that twice, both by Eretz Mitzrayim and Eretz Canaan. I think it's just trying to say the inhabitants of those lands.
Right. So it would be.
I hear. So why not say? Kemitzriim or something, or
right.
Kikanan.
Because it's not the land that's performing znus, it's the people.
That's true. It happens to be.
But it wasn't just that. We're not even supposed to go to Egypt. Never mind the people.
You're right, but that is because of the Maisim that went down. That is because of the way that Klal Yisrael were treated there. It could be, on a deeper level, that there is a kesher between the land and the people. There certainly is a kesher between the Sar, the Malach of the people and the people. It could be there's a kesher on the land, and certainly the Maisim of the people can influence the land to be more productive, to be less productive, and can make a roshim on the land. Like when Klal Yisrael are bad in Eretz Yisrael, it says the land will spit us out and it'll become desolate. There's certain things that a people can do to a land on a ruchnius level, because mainly at the end of the day, like the Nefesh HaChaim says, the human being and Beprat, the Jewish people, have the mafteach libria. We have, the keys to the world. And based on what we do, it makes a lot of ramifications in the spiritual worlds. And those ramifications also come down to the physical world also. That's an Isrusa dilatata, a awakening from below makes an Isrusa dilayla, makes an awakening above.
So the rationale from the pasuk, then that would apply to the Goyim as well, because of the land of Egypt. To
they do have the land to be the ability to be mashchis, to destroy a place. It happens to be that might be, according to a few Kabbalistic maforshim, why Klal Yisrael Dafka had to go to those places, because there were sparks of kedusha in those makomos. Huh?
They call it the klipot.
Klipot are the negative forces. These are the nitzotzos shel kedusha. They're hidden sparks of kedusha in all parts of the world. And sometimes, Klal Yisrael have to go there and be mavar them and to, uplift the land. It's one of the things, when I was very involved in Boy Scouts when I was younger, it's one of the things my father told me. Like sometimes when we're out hiking on the Appalachian Trail, he said, when you daven mincha, think about the fact no one has ever daven mincha in the place that you're going to daven mincha, and the Rebbeinu Shalom needed you to daven mincha there for some reason. There are nitzotzos of kedusha that you could bring out that maybe would have never been found. Okay, so we say don't do like the actions of Mitzrayim, particularly znus and avodah zarah, asher yeshavtem b'fain, and don't do the maisim of Eretz Canaan. Eretz Canaan, if we could just lower the volume. Sure. Eretz Canaan, their biggest flaw that's pointed out in many a case is that they were big balei avodah zarah, and there are very many powerful. Not powerful as in actual power, but powerful as in well-followed large avodah zaras there that were popular, and that was another thing the pasuk is trying to say that we shouldn't follow. But those are really the first two parts of the pasuk. Don't do like the actions of the Mitzrayim, like znus and avodah zarah, and the actions of the Canaanim, Then it says a second thing, v'chukosehem, and in their ways, lo seilechu, don't go. And we've told you don't do the big averos that they did over there. Now I'm telling you a new thing. We have this word chok. What does a chok usually mean? You can say.
Law.
Yeah, what type of law generally?
A decree that we don't have any understanding.
Exactly. More something we don't know. Exactly, like paraduma. It's a mitzvah we don't have a reason for. You can really say that's what it's talking about here also. Chukos sehem just means their social norms. It means the things that have developed in their culture. It's lav dafka. It's lav dafka, these big averos like znus and avodah zara. The chukos sehem lo seilechu is, I don't want you to go in their ways. The psukim go on to say, go in the chukos of Hashem. If you're going to go in decrees that you don't understand, let it be from the Rabbanu Shalom, from the Creator of the universe, who gives them to you, and they have deep and meaningful reasons. Don't connect yourself to the chukos hagoyim, to the customs and traditions and social norms of the goyim. The things that pretty much they just do, and that, according to some of Farshim, it's dafka, the things they do that make no sense. Some of Farshim say, if what they're doing makes sense, if it's not something, like, do I have to not wear a suit because the goyim wear a suit? No. It makes sense. It's a sensible, nice way of dress. We're going to talk a lot about dress. We're going to talk about types of dress that we're not supposed to emulate. But if it's something that makes sense, the Gemara brings an example that it argues about a lot, and we're going to see that in depth when we get there. They used to burn the objects that belonged to a king. And there's a debate there of whether that's permissible to do for Jewish kings. And the Man Da'amr that says that it's okay to do, it says it's not because of some strange chok or some strange cultural thing they're doing. It's kavod l'malchus. No one else should use the kalim that the king used. So out of his kavod, we'll destroy those things. Maybe you'll get into a problem of not destroying things wantonly, or baltashkes, but the Man Da'amr that says it's okay is saying this is not a chok of the goyim that makes no sense. And he's dafka saying only those chukim that make no sense, or also like Gemara brings that are connected to avodah zara, those would be the things that are usher, but not every single little thing. But one of the when I was thinking about the introduction to this idea of chukosem lo seilechu, it's that we're not supposed to get extremely attached to and make part of our lives to run after the pop culture of the times, to run after what might be really popular in our day and age in the Goyish United States of America. And we're actually going to see a Rambam tonight, if we have time, that speaks about Inyana Dioma perfectly, and things that have recently been decided in our court systems as pop culture and getting, there are also bigger averos involved there, but getting involved in what the culture deems as the appropriate lifestyle. Let's move on to Rashi. Rashi first we'll see the other psukim real quick before we see Rashi. There's one other place in Parshas Kedoshim, the next parsha, that this mitzvah is ki'ilu reiterated, and some of the Meforshim we're going to see are bringing it from here. So if you look in Perek Chaf, pasuk, we'll do Chaf Beis. Ushmartem es kol chukosai, you should guard all of my statutes, v'es kol mishpatai, and all my laws, v'asisim osam, and do them, v'losaki arts, eschem ha'arts, so that the land should not spit you out, asher ani maybe eschem shama, that I'm bringing you to there, I Eretz Yisrael, Hashavaspa, to dwell in it. V'loseilchu b'chukos agoy, you should not go in the ways of the nation, asher ani mishaleach mipanechem, that I'm going to be throwing out in front of you, ki es kol eila asu, because they did all these bad things, v'akutz b'ham, and I got disgusted with them. The things...
Wi-Fi? I do. It's not letting me zoom in. What's your Wi-Fi? Sorry.
It's okay.
Just help me see that.
I have.
You can do that.
And mine, I don't know how to
Flip it.
flip it.
I'll just get it. We can share.
I think you have to download it and then open it as a PDF file.
Yeah.
When you open it in Adobe Acrobat, then you can view it and flip it.
We will.
Okay. So what he's actually connecting this to, between the last pasuk that we read and these psukim, this is in Kedoshim and Perek Chaf, pasuk Chaf Gimel is really the main one we just saw. In between the first place it mentions Chukos Akum and the second place, it gives all of the arayas, all of the immoral relationships, and many Mefarshim tie it to that as well. And one other thing to point out is that both times v'chukoseim lo seilechu, not going in their chukos, is a little bit more connected to the Canaanim. In our first pasuk we said, don't do like the actions of Mitzrayim, don't do like the actions of Canaan, and don't go in their ways. That seems more like it's connected to Canaan, because that was the last one mentioned. Here also it says, V'lo seichel b'chukos agoy, don't go in the ways of the nation asher ani mishaleach mipneichem, that I'm throwing out in front of you. Who's that? That's the Canaanim. Because kol ela asu v'akutzbam, they did all these things, I got disgusted by them. All these things refers to the arayas, the immoral relationships that were brought in between these two mentions of chukos agoy. And then in pasuk chavav there, I didn't put it on the list, but it says v'yisim li kadoshim, you're supposed to be holy to me. Ki kadosh ani Hashem, because I Hashem am holy. V'avdil eschem min ha'amim lios li, I've separated you from the nations to be for me, which is kind of the idea here that we mentioned. We're not supposed to get caught up in the things that they're doing. We have a different mission. We're an or lagoyim. We're a light unto the nations. We're holy. We're mamleches kohanim b'goy kadosh. We're not supposed to be caught up in certainly the things that are averos, but even the things that are, they're pop culture. We have a higher calling. We have other things that we're supposed to connect to, and if anything, we're supposed to be a light unto them. We're not supposed to be following them and all of their norms.
So certainly this could probably be a very broad topic. I don't want to take us off guard, but things like sports. Like sports seem to have a very
We're gonna get
very
there.
accepted, and
We're gonna get there.
in a wide spectrum of Torah hashkafos.
Yeah, especially in the Kiruv world, people go to baseball games. People, go out there.
Obviously, when you're doing something mishum kiruv, that's a different.
What about
story,
stam? What about stam?
But just not kiruv.
Yeah,
and
I
say this as someone who's not into sports, so it's kind of a shock to me. I was really hoping that the film world would be like totally anti-sports, but it turned out I was shocked.
And I've had this discussion with a few different
Rabbanim.
rabbanim. Huh? I'm into sports. It's
More than all of us put together.
Yeah.
Could be.
Do you want to fork for that?
Quite possible.
Are your hands
I for better or for worse, I grew up in an Atlanta that had the Braves, and they went through 14 straight division titles while I was growing up. So it was certainly a draw. And I've heard many rabbanim speak about it, and we're going to get there. It's going to be a fairly broad discussion that we're going to have. Let's say I've heard people come very charif about it. I've heard people come less charif. And we're going to have to speak about a Rashi that speaks about stadiums. And we're going to have to see if there's a difference between their stadiums and our stadiums. I'll tell you one Maisa, just a Bissel Musar that I heard from Moshe something Katz. I can't remember his middle name. In the Mir. I was one time there for a Bein Hazmanim listening to a shiur, and he used a very stark lashon. He said, it's as important. People give so much importance to how much a basketball player scores. She says the amount of points and knowing the stats of how many times a person puts a ball through a hoop is about as important as knowing how many times he goes to the bathroom and puts something in a toilet. So that's the importance that should be there, that should be afforded. So he wasn't coming mitzad in Isser. He didn't say an Isser there, as I recall. But he was saying it's not something Klal Yisrael should be putting so much time and effort into. We're going to have to talk as we get further about whether there could be an Isser involved in such things. Well, we will have to get there, and it's not so pashut. There'll be studim lahatir, but it also depends what sport you're talking about. It depends, on the scenario. There might be other isurim of going to certain sports. So we'll have to see when we get there. But I don't want to say that sports are usher until we have our large, lengthy discussion about it, and people will hunt me down if I say such things. But we'll talk about it. Let's go back to the original psukim. We're not going to see so many mefarshim on the page there in Kedoshim. We're going to see a lot more here in Achremos. So the first Rashi here. Kamaisei Eretz Mitzrayim, like the actions of Eretz Mitzrayim. Magid Shemaaseim Shel Mitzrayim and Shel Canaanim. This teaches us that the actions of Mitzrayim, of the Mitzrayim and the Canaanim. So Rashi talks about the people. mikol kol mikol umos. They were worse than all of the other nations. V'oso makam sheyashvu bo Yisrael, in the particular place where Klal Yisrael dwelled, mikol kol min hakol was worse than every other place, which might be connected to what we spoke about before, that Klal Yisrael may have had to go there dafka to bring out the kedusha that was implanted there that wouldn't have been if Klal Yisrael didn't come. Asher ani mevi eschem shama, that I'm bringing you there into Eretz Canaan. Magid she'osan amamim shekavshu Yisrael mikol kol mikulam. This again teaches that the nations that Klal Yisrael were kovesh, conquered, were worse than everybody else. Now the Rashi that we want to see. Don't go in their ways. Ma hiniach hakasav shelo amar. What did the pasuk leave out that we haven't seen elsewhere? If you look in the elongated medrash that Rashi takes us from, the medrash says we have other places where we see kishuf and we see witchcraft. So the medrash is connecting it to witchcraft. So what did the pasuk leave out that it hasn't already told us? It's told us of weird practices they do, like shaving their face and shaving their hair in a funny way and getting tattoos and cutting themselves over a mace. We know these things. So what did the pasuk leave out? Ella, rather, elu nimusa shelahem. It's not talking about any particular practice. It's talking about their customs, their culture. Devarim hachakukim lahem, things that are ingrained in the society. Kigon tartios, like theaters, but stadios and stadiums. We'll have to clarify based on the Sifsei Chachamim what those are. Rabbi Meir said, Elu darchei Amori. These are the ways of the Amori, Shemanu Chachamim, the Chachamim listed. That's in a Gemara as well as the Teres Kohanim. It's in the Gemara in Shabbos, and I believe Samach Zayin. It's talking about superstitious practices that the Amori had. Modern equivalent would be that walking under a ladder is bad luck, or a black cat crossing your path would be bad luck, that type of thing. Let's look in the Sifsei Chachamim in Zayin and Ches. So first, Zayin is talking about what tartios are, what theaters are. So, Perik Kama de Ksuvos, in the first Perik of Ksuvos and Daf Hei Amud Aleph, Perish Rashi explains, tartios, theaters, palte malchei ovdei avodah zarah. These are the palaces of the kings of the nations that serve avodah zarah, besarim shel ovdei avodah zarah, and of the officers of the ovdei avodah zarah, those who serve avodah zarah. It's their palaces. With Masechus avodah zarah, in Tractate avodah zarah near Chesamid Beis, Perish Rashi explains, tartios palton. It's their palace, v'chol divreim, and all of their matters, k'shehei nesafim, when they gathered together, l'schok b'lalatzon, for laughter and levity. So when we say palace, it doesn't mean that it's usher to go to Buckingham Palace. It means these were big halls and glorious places that they made to get together and have schok and kalas rosh. And laughter, levity, probably averos happen at such places. Probably, we have in the times of Achashverosh, she had a big orgy for quite a long time in such a makom. It's these types of places. Slav Dafka, Stama, a palace. It's places that they make, for gatherings of lewdness. So that's theaters, which is also not what we think of when we hear theater. We're going to have to figure out, is our theater going to be such a thing?
Club, it's a different...
Right. Could be, theater still. Maybe there's some aspect of not connecting to Goyish culture, but we'll have to see. It's, right now we're touching the iceberg of what could possibly be a problem. And then what is a stadium? A stadios. Schok, shemesisim es hashvarim, v'sharchayos lenagcham, lilachim zeimzeh. There are places where they would entice oxen and other animals to gore each other and to make war with each other. So it's a place where they would fight animals, and other Mefarshim say it's a place where they would have gladiators, people where they'd get together to watch gladiators and animals battle. And it was, not what we think of as modern day sports, as much of places where
it's the same thing.
Boxing could be. Boxing
Each other in the head.
Boxing is very similar. It could be there's some gedolim that might throw football into it. American football. You're trying to take a guy and throw him to the ground. There's a famous story of American Bachrim that came to Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. They wanted to ask him, is it mutter to play football? So he said, what's football? They started explaining to him what football was. I don't know if they got an answer. They saw what was happening to his face, because they're talking tackle football. And they're like, you run after the guy, you grab him, you throw him to the ground. He's like, his face is going white. I don't know if they got an answer or not. L'chari said it's also, but yeah. So it's not what we're thinking of baseball, basketball, but it could be that it'll have ties to other sports. Let's look in the Mosaf Rashi. That's on my page. I have it. I think you have it too. Mosaf Rashi. Additional Rashis from other places is what the Mosaf Rashi is. And this is not Rashi from
Mosaf
here.
Or Mosaf?
Where's that on the page?
Mosaf, meaning added.
Where's that on?
Like Musa.
It's not on this one. There's a different one that I have. That's another Mikros Gedolos.
The Shem Kufid.
Is it that one?
So
Additional.
No, that's the Torah Tamima one. It's this one, I think. No, not that one. Go back. It's another one with that layout, though. It's that chumash. How many are there? No, it's not that one. No, it might be this one. If that wasn't the first one you had open, go up. It's not that one. Go back. There's like only one other choice here. This one. Oh, wait, that one maybe. No. Where is it? Yeah, maybe. No, I don't know where it is.
Right.
Here, look with me.
Okay.
Mosaf Rashi, v'chukosam lo seilechu, darchei Amori. This refers to the ways of the Amori, which we mentioned above, superstitious type practices. Nichush. Nichush means superstitions. Rashi there in Devarim, I want to say Parsha Shoftim, explains it's like snake charmers and things like that. Nichushu, this is talking about nichush, superstitions, viksiv, and it's written about that. Don't go in their ways. There's a big question, because Rashi brings this in the Gemara as well, in Shabbos and Samach Zayin, and the Rashash is a big question, which we'll get to. If this is nichush, there's already a mitzvah in the Torah, lo sanachesh. There's already a mitzvah in the Torah not to do nichush. So why do I need another mitzvah for that? So I don't know, maybe you could answer, v'chukosem lo seilechu is a broader category. Don't go in the ways of the goyim, and nichush will fall under it. Could be some of us are going to go in that direction, but we'll have to get an answer for the Rashash, because if Rashi is saying this is nichush, we already have a mitzvah of not to be menachesh. So what's this coming to teach me then? What's new if this is nichush? So that's one question we'll get to when we go further. Let's look, and we'll see that Gemara also in Shabbos. Let's look in the Eben Ezra. We're going down the page. Don't go in the ways of the goyim. Shlo yargel adam leleches b'derech hazeh. A person should not make it normal for him. It should not make it his routine to go in these ways ad sheyeh lo chok, until it becomes like a statute of what he does. What he's coming off of is that word seilechu. This is actually explained by the Avi Ezri, who's a parish on the Ibn Ezra, of why, what was bothering the Ibn Ezra. He sees, don't go in the ways of the Goyim, but this word seilechu means repetitive practice. It means don't let this become who you are. Don't become just a drone in the Goyish society. Have an individuality, and that individuality should be your connection to the Rabboni Shalom. Let's look at the Torah Tamima. That was the first one you opened. I think that's this one, I think. Give it a try. Go up. Go up there. That's the Torah Tamima. Yeah, flip him. Okay, the Torah Tamima, the way that I have it in my Mikros Gedolos, which is not the Torah Tamima Chumash, it's just the Mikros Gedolos. There's two parts of the Torah Tamima. He brings down Mari Makomas from Shas in their entirety, and he has a parish. We're just looking at his Mari Makomas from Shas. He says over here, B'chuko Seim Lo Seilechu. Tanya, I'm going to do that one. We learn in a Brisa. This is in Chulin and Memalef and Beis. There's a Gemara there. And the Gemara, there's a Mishnah first.
Where?
Torah Tamima, this one, Tanya.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a Mishnah that comes to talk about how you're supposed to shecht behemos. The Mishnah right before was talking about not shechting behemos to avodah zarah. This is now going to be talking about not shechting behemos in a way that looks like you are possibly giving them to avodah zarah. It says, don't shecht into the ocean. People will say you're shechting to the malach, the sar, the officer of the ocean. Don't shecht into naharos, into rivers. They'll say you're shechting to the river god. Yeah, it goes through a lot of places not to shecht. And it says Tanya, actually, before we get even to that, Tanya, I'll talk out the Gemara. It says you're not supposed to shecht into a ditch. So it says, well, if you're shechting in your backyard, how do you keep your backyard clean? Right? And first, let me just preface, it says don't shecht into a ditch, because that was the practice of the tzidukim or the minim, either the Sadducees or other heretics. And it was, their culture to shecht into ditches. So he's saying, don't do that, because that's the culture of the Sadducees. So then Tanya, picking up where we are, someone who wants to, clean out his chatzar, his courtyard, ketzad hu osa. So how should he do it? How should he shecht there without getting himself all dirty? His chatzar all dirty. Osa makam chutz leguma. He should make an area outside of the ditch. V'shochet, and you'll shecht v'dam shoses, and the dam will run from there where you shecht v'yored leguma, and go into the guma. So you're not shechting into the ditch. You're shechting by the ditch, and it'll run into the ditch. You're on like a madron, on like an angle. Uvashuk lo yasakein. But even this you shouldn't do in the shuk, in public, where people are going to see, because they still might think you're shechting into the ditch, which is the tziduki practice. Mishum shenamar, and what's the reason why not? Uvachuko seim lo seilechu. It says in a pasuk, you shouldn't go in their ways. So this is a way even of Jews, but Jews that were off the derech, you're not supposed to go in their ways. And the Gemara actually continues there and says, if you see someone that is doing it, you have to be bodek acharov. You have to check into, A, is this guy Jewish? B, if he's Jewish, what's he doing? Why is he doing this? Is he secretly connected to the Tzidukim? Is he secretly off the derech? So it's a Gemara, the Baal HaTurim also brings this Gemara. Says, here, Baal HaTurim says, Samach l'parshas Adam, that this quote of Chukot Seim Lo Seilechu is right next to, close to a halacha about dam, about blood. Remez, and this is a hint, she'ein shochatim b'toch aguma, that you're not allowed to shecht into a guma, into a ditch, shlo yechaka es minim, so you shouldn't help out the minim and do the heretical practice. Fine. Another, now this was even, the chiddush of this is l'chora Jews, and even so, you shouldn't start going like the practices of the non-from Yidden. We have a few more minutes. Since we have a few more minutes, I want to do the Rambam before I get to the Hemek Davar. This one's a little bit more Iandik. It's a little longer. We'll do the Rambam. The Rambam actually is the one that speaks about in Yana Dioma here. The Rambam looks like this. I'm going to be on page Kuf Vav is what it's going to say at the top. Like this. Page Kuf Vav. You guys can look on together. It's going to be one of these two. The one that says Kuf, not that one, the other one. That one. That should be it. Can you zoom? Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to start in the middle of this paragraph. Lashon's... Wait! We didn't do the Sifra that Rashi was quoting. We have to do that first. We need to do that first. Let's go back. We'll get to the Rambam next time, probably. Scoochin. Let's see what we got. That one.
Which page?
Looks like this. Nice. Note.
Yeah, I got that one.
Okay.
Yeah, let's look at this. This is actually what Rashi is quoting from. This is the greater Medrash here. Medrash is the Sifra, and the Sifra in Sof Perik Parshas Acharemos, al pasuk of Chukosem Lo Seilechu, on the pasuk to not go in the ways of the Goyim. Isa, it is brought as follows. What did the pasuk leave out that it hasn't told us already? V'alo kvar nemar, it already says, Lo yimtza yimatzei b'cha ma'avir b'no bito be'esh. You shouldn't have anybody amongst the Jewish people who passes his children through fire. That's the avoda of Molech, particular avoda zara, the Gomer, the Chover Chaver, right, snake charmer type people. Right, we have a Kosem, uses mystical omens. We have a Menachesh, who uses superstitions. Chover Chaver uses incantations and charms. Right, all these types of things. The pasuk told us about them already. Right, so then what is this? So what's it telling us? Not to go in their ways. You shouldn't go in their minhagim. You shouldn't go in their societal norms. The things that have become part of their culture. Kagon, teatros, theaters. Kirkasos, circuses. You have to see what that means. And the hestarios, I'm not sure exactly what those are, and I haven't found someone in Portland that does. I worked on that. I asked the other Rabbanim. I couldn't find somebody that knew exactly what those are.
Do you look in Jastrow?
Do you have one? Let's look him up. Maybe he has it. I'm gonna keep reading while you grab it, but I couldn't find it. And but I'm sure. I shouldn't say sure, but I would think Jasper probably has it. Rav Meir Omer. Ooh, you have the new one. Rav Meir says, "Elu darchei Amori." This is the ways of the Amori. Shemanu Chachamim. The Chachamim listed. These are the superstitious practices. Rav Yehuda ben Beseira Omer. Rav Yehuda ben Beseira says, "Shlo tenachor v'shlo tigadol tzitzis v'shlo tispor kume safa." And we're going to explain all of those right now. Perish Arivid, what all those are. Lo tenachor, Adam sheroa es atzmo b'mara, somebody who looks at himself in a mirror. Lenos atzmo, to beautify himself. V'hu derech hagoyim, this is the way of the goyim, shem kashnin es atzman leznus, when they beautify themselves to go out for immorality. And so that women will put their eyes upon them. So, midas hachasidus, to not look in a mirror at all, of course. But, we can look in a mirror. This is talking about when somebody's mamish trying to make himself look really, really fancy so he can go attract the ladies. Now, we know that there are stories of I think there's stories by Yosef. He would be Masalsal Saro. He would comb his hair. He'd make himself look good. And the Rabbanu Shalom was geyser. You're trying to make yourself. You're playing with your hair while your father's, in Avelos. That's when he sent him the test of Ashes Potiphar. Anyway, these types of things, making yourself, all pretty and stuff. That's not such a Yiddish way. Doesn't mean you look like a slob. You're supposed to represent Torah. You're supposed to, the Ravav al Bigdos is the Gemara, a Talmud Chacham that has a stain on his shirt. Don't look at my shirt. That has a stain on his shirt. It's Chayav Misa. Is he really going to die? No, but he's representing the Torah. You have to look good. You have to look presentable. But you shouldn't be trying to make yourself look attractive for the nushim, for ladies. So that's Lo Senachor. What's the next one?
Unless you're dating, right?
If you're dating, you make yourself look presentable. But even so, I don't go like crazy and making yourself try to look like super. Don't like take a bath in cologne, like that type of thing. Look presentable. Yeah.
My
Rebbe,
I'll probably be counting.
Yeah, exactly.
My Rebbe sat me down at the beginning of Shidduchim. I had some pretty out there ties. I had one with like a cheetah like roaring at you with like his paw and everything. So I had some pretty like intense ties. And my Rebbe sat me down one time. He's like, "Lamaisa Dov, you look great, but you might want to tone down the ties. It's a little bit too loud. It's not so good for a Yiddish boy." Okay, fine. Happens to be there was one girl that Dafka. I mentioned that to her, and she's like, "Next date, you wear the tiger tie." Okay.
Well, you wore those on Shabbos, or?
Here and there, yeah. I did not marry her. No, I did not marry her. No, fine, let's see here. Velo sigadol tzitzis. Don't grow out your tzitzis. Am I not supposed to have long tzitzis?
Don't grow out?
So it doesn't mean tzitzis like you think. Tzitzis are, out shooting hairs. We have tzitzis on our beged, they're out shooting threads, but tzitzis are hairs. Perish, what's it mean? Shia megadol tzitzis rosho, that he grows out his hair very long. We are going to talk about some goyish hairstyles, like a blowreese. We'll talk about what a blowreese is. It's a big
Afro?
More out of the front of your hair is a blowreese. And then we're going to talk about a big mullet type thing also.
Oh, it's the opposite of a mullet.
Yeah, we're going to talk about mullets too.
Right.
We're going to talk about blowreeses and mullets. David HaMelech, when he was running from Shaul, he had a band of people that rallied around him that were like people of ill repute. And the Navi tells us they were all Bale blowrees. They all had big blowrees haircuts. It's one of the ways you could know they were people of ill repute. Tispor, saper. It's a lesson of cutting. Let's see here. What was the actual? I know there's a different tispor. Yeah, there it says saper. There it says tisaper, and the actual medrash it says tispor. Lo tisaper kumi. What's that mean? Shemasaper se'ar rosho.
Tispor would be to tell, and tisaper would be to cut.
Spelled different.
Yeah, tispor can also be.
It's funny.
You're right.
Same short.
Kind of. You could, but here, it means to cut hair here.
It's same.
Yeah.
Sameh.
Sam Peresh. Yes.
Same short. There's
Yeah.
a connection.
Shemasaper se'ar rosho. Someone cuts the hair of his head, keneged panav, in front of his face, umeniach mashib tzadav, and leaves what's on the sides, v'shel achrov, and what's in back. That's the big mullet type thing. Kol elu ma'aseh emorihim. These are all the ma'asim of the Amorim. These are the actions of the Amorim. And the Gemara in Samach Zayin and Shabbos is going to say a lot of superstitions that it calls the Maaseh Mori. Upasek Rambam, the Rambam Paskins, and Hilchos Avodah Zarah, Perek Yud Aleph, Halacha Aleph. Ein holchem b'chukas ovdei kochavim. We don't go in the ways of the star worshippers. Lo madam lahem. We don't try to be similar to them. Lo malbush, not in their clothing. Lo b'se'ar, not in their hair. V'chiyotze b'hen, and things like that. And we're going to go deep into malbush and se'ar when we get there. Shenamar lo seilchu b'chukas hagoyim. Don't go in the ways of the goyim. V'chol ha'osa achas me'elu v'chiyotze b'hen. Anyone who does something like this, take him out back and beat him. Loka. And those aren't Malchus Mardus, that's actually real Malchus. Diraisa Dika Malchus.
I couldn't find it in here.
Interesting.
40 lashes, Diraisa. We got to roll to Mincha
Yeah,
if we're heading that direction.